Gentlemen, let me begin with something that might surprise you. Every single morning across America, millions of men over 60 pour themselves a cup of coffee, drink it down, and without knowing it, waste the best opportunity they have to make their manhood feel alive again. Yes, I'm talking about stronger, longer-lasting erections, even if you are well into your 70s or 80s. What if the very cup you've been enjoying for years could either keep you weak or help you feel like your old self again? My name is Dr. Rena Malik. I am a urologist and a teacher of men's health with more than 30 years of experience. And I have spent my life helping men regain their strength, energy, and self-assurance. I have sat across from thousands of men in my office who believed their best days were over. And I have shown them solutions that changed their lives. Here's the unexpected fact. Most men think performance problems are just a normal part of getting older. They blame age, stress, or bad luck. But the real puzzle is this. While so many men look to pills, surgeries, or expensive treatments, some of the most powerful solutions are already sitting in their kitchen. And here's my promise to you. Add just one simple natural item to your coffee, and you can greatly improve blood flow, boost testosterone, and restore erections in a way that feels natural, safe, and lasting. This isn't just an idea. It's science proven by research and decades of results in real men. So stay with me, because in just a moment I'm going to show exactly what to stir into your morning cup and why it can reignite your body's performance even at 80 years old. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of my future advice on men's health and vitality. And I'd love to hear from you. If this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0 and let me know how I can make these videos more helpful for you. Now, let's dive into the real reason so many men over 60 struggle with weaker erections. It's not just age. It's what's happening inside your body. To truly fix the problem, we must understand why erections fade as the years go by and what's quietly changing your biology. When I sit across from men in my office, one of the first things they often ask me is, "Doc, why is this happening to me? Why, after all these years, do I suddenly struggle with something that used to feel so natural?" And I always tell them the same thing. It isn't sudden. It's been building slowly inside your body for decades. By the time you reach 60, 2 critical shifts are already underway. First, your testosterone, the very hormone that fuels a man's energy, drive, and ability to perform, has dropped nearly in half compared to what it was in your 20s. Second, the blood vessels that carry life, giving circulation to your heart, your brain, and yes, to your penis, have stiffened with age. They aren't as flexible or responsive as they used to be, and that makes all the difference. Think about it like this. When you were younger, your body worked like a high-pressure garden hose. The water rushed through quickly and powerfully, filling every corner. Erections came easily because blood flow was strong and your tissues were responsive. But as you age, that hose becomes worn, stiff, and leaky. The water trickles instead of rushing, and the result is weaker, shorter-lasting erections, or sometimes nothing at all. This isn't about willpower or desire. It's biology, and here's the part most men never hear. Once those vessels narrow and testosterone falls, the body begins a cycle of decline. Less testosterone leads to less energy and muscle, less blood flow leads to weaker erections, and over time, a man can start to feel like a shadow of who he once was. I remember one patient in particular, a 67-year-old grandfather who came to see me. He sat there quietly, then whispered, "I just don't feel like a man anymore." And I could see in his eyes that this wasn't only about sex. It was about identity, confidence, the spark that makes you feel alive. That pain is real, and yet What I told him and what I'll tell you now is that biology can be influenced. Decline is not destiny. Your body still has remarkable capacity to respond when given the right fuel and support. The good news is that you don't need a prescription to start shifting things back in your favor. The very cup of coffee you drink each morning can be transformed into a tool for restoring circulation and supporting your hormones. By adding the right natural ingredients, you can help those stiff vessels relax, open up blood flow, and give your body what it needs to feel strong again. It's simple, it's natural, and it can work even if you're well into your 70s or 80s. So, now that you understand why erections fade with age, let me show you how something as ordinary as your morning coffee can become extraordinary when you unlock its hidden potential. Every morning, men across this country pour themselves a cup of coffee without giving it a second thought. For many of us, it's almost automatic. The smell of those fresh grounds, the steam rising from the cup, the first sip that jolts you awake. It feels like a daily ritual that keeps us going. I've had men in my office tell me, "Doc, I could give up almost anything, but not my coffee." And I always smile because I understand. I start my day the same way. Coffee wakes up the brain, sharpens focus, and gives us that sense of energy we've relied on for decades. But here's what most men don't realize. Coffee, as it is only doing half the job. Yes, caffeine increases circulation temporarily. Yes, it can give you that mental edge, but playing coffee alone is like stepping on the gas pedal of a car that hasn't been tuned in years. You'll get a quick burst of speed, sure, but you'll burn out quickly, and the underlying engine problems remain. That's why so many men find themselves reaching for a second cup by mid-morning and a third in the afternoon, chasing that high that never lasts. The truth is, black coffee by itself is like regular fuel in a high-performance car. It works, but it doesn't give you the premium performance your body now demands as you age. Here's the paradox. Coffee could be so much more. With just a simple addition, that same cup could go from a quick wake-up call to a powerful health tool that supports your blood vessels, protects your heart, and fuels your erections. Think about that for a moment. The very drink you already enjoy every morning could be transformed into a natural science-backed solution for one of the most frustrating problems men face after 60. That's not fantasy. That's real physiology waiting to be unlocked. I've seen it firsthand with my patients. One man in his 70s told me that after years of struggling, he started adding just one natural ingredient to his morning coffee. And within weeks, he felt his energy stabilize and his confidence returned in the bedroom. He wasn't jittery anymore. He wasn't crashing by midday, and he felt more in control of his body. That simple change gave him hope again, and it reminded me that the smallest adjustments often create the biggest transformations. Coffee doesn't need to be just a habit. It can be a vehicle for healing and restoration. It's familiar. It's affordable, and it's already in your life. All it takes is knowing what to add to it so that it becomes more than a beverage. It becomes a partner in your health, your strength, and your manhood. And the best part is you don't have to wait months or years to see the difference. Now let's uncover the very first ingredient that can turn your ordinary cup of coffee into extraordinary fuel for your body and your erections. An ingredient that has been used for centuries and yet most men completely overlook. When I think back to my childhood, I can still remember the smell of cinnamon drifting from the kitchen. My mother would sprinkle it over warm oatmeal or mix it into a pie that filled the whole house with that sweet, comforting aroma. For many of us, cinnamon is a flavor tied to good memories, holidays, and family gatherings. But what most men don't realize is that this familiar spice carries a secret power. One that can protect your blood vessels, stabilize your energy, and even restore your ability to achieve strong, lasting erections. Here's why it matters. As we age, one of the biggest enemies of men's health is unstable blood sugar. Every spike and crash in your blood sugar damages the tiny blood vessels throughout your body, and the smallest, most delicate vessels, the ones inside the penis, are often the first to suffer. These vessels are thinner than a human hair, and when they get damaged, circulation to that area weakens long before you ever notice trouble in your larger arteries. This is why men with blood sugar issues often experience erectile problems years before they're diagnosed with diabetes. Cinnamon steps in like a guardian. It has been shown in research to lower fasting blood sugar by as much as 20 to 30%. And that single effect protects those delicate vessels that feed your manhood, but cinnamon does even more. It helps your blood vessels relax and open through a process called vasodilation. The active compound cinnamaldehyde actually boosts nitric oxide, the very same molecule that prescription drugs like Viagra are designed to target. When nitric oxide increases, blood flow improves. And when blood flow improves, erections become stronger, fuller, and more dependable. I've had patients tell me that after just a few weeks of adding cinnamon to their morning coffee, they felt steadier energy throughout the day and a noticeable difference in the bedroom. One man, a retired contractor in his late 50s, told me he went from needing an afternoon nap to powering through his projects with a steady hand. Another benefit is that cinnamon brings warmth not just in taste but in circulation. That subtle warming effect is your body responding to improved blood flow. And the beauty of it is you don't need a lot. A quarter teaspoon stirred into your coffee is enough to set this process in motion. The key is consistency, making it part of your daily ritual, so your vessels stay protected, your energy stays stable, and your confidence begins to return. Cinnamon is more than a spice. It's a daily act of self-care that tastes good, costs little, and carries centuries of wisdom alongside modern scientific proof. Now, imagine taking this one step further, combining that warm spice with another natural ingredient that not only supports blood flow, but flips the master switch for erections inside your body. Let's talk about cocoa. There is something almost universal about the comfort of chocolate. Maybe it was the candy bar you craved as a boy or the piece of dark chocolate you reach for now and then as a treat. That rich, slightly bitter taste carries with it a sense of warmth and nostalgia, but here's the truth. Many men never realize. Beneath that familiar flavor lies a remarkable secret. Pure, unsweetened cocoa, dark, rich, and untouched by sugar, is one of nature's most powerful tools for restoring blood flow and reviving erections. Cocoa is loaded with flavonoids, compounds that act directly on the lining of your blood vessels. These flavonoids trigger the release of nitric oxide, which is the single most important molecule when it comes to erections. Think of nitric oxide as the open sesame signal for your arteries. When levels are high, blood vessels expand wide, circulation increases, and blood flows into the penis easily. When levels are low, vessels stay stiff and narrow, and no matter how much desire you have, the body simply can't respond. This is the exact pathway targeted by medications, but cocoa allows you to encourage the same response naturally. I remember a patient in his early 70s, a man who had nearly given up on intimacy. He came to me tired, embarrassed, and hesitant to even speak about his struggles. I suggested he start adding a teaspoon of raw cocoa powder to his morning coffee. A month later, he returned with a smile. "I'll never forget, Doc," he said. "It feels like someone flipped a switch inside me. That's what nitric oxide does." It flips the master switch that powers erections, and cocoa is one of the simplest, safest ways to increase it. But cocoa offers more than just physical benefits. It also has compounds that lift mood: anandamide, sometimes called the bliss molecule, and phenylethylamine. the same chemical released when we fall in love. Men often underestimate how important the mind is in performance. When you feel calmer, more positive, and more connected, your body follows. Add to that the magnesium found abundantly in cocoa, which supports testosterone production and muscle function, and you start to see why this simple addition is so effective. The taste itself transforms your coffee into something special, a mocha-like richness without the sugar spike of hot chocolate. And if the bitterness feels too strong at first, you can soften it with a drop of natural sweetener like stevia or monk fruit. The point is, you're not only enjoying a more satisfying cup, you're giving your body the signal to wake up, to open the pathways that have been closing with age, and to fuel your masculinity at its very core. Cinnamon helps keep your vessels healthy and steady, but cocoa goes deeper. It activates the very mechanism that allows those vessels to open wide. And as powerful as that is, there's another ingredient that has been treasured for centuries in the mountains of Peru. An ingredient known to restore drive, stamina, and passion. Let's turn to marker, the Andean secret. High in the thin cold air of the Andes Mountains grows a humble root that has been cherished for centuries by local farmers and herdsmen. That root is marker, and in Peru it is spoken of with a kind of reverence. They call it the natural Viagra, not because it works in the same way as a pill, but because it awakens something deeper inside the male body. When I first learned about marker, I was fascinated by how a plant growing at nearly 14 zeros, 0 ft in soil where almost nothing else survives could carry such strength and resilience. And when I began recommending it to my patients, I saw those same qualities reflected back in them. Marker doesn't force your body to respond. It encourages it to remember what it already knows how to do. Unlike synthetic drugs that push blood flow for a few hours, marker works by supporting the delicate balance of your hormones. It communicates with the hypothalamus and pituitary gland, the master controllers of your endocrine system, and helps restore a natural rhythm. This means your testosterone can begin to rise again, your energy can return, and your desire long dormant can resurface. I have seen men in their 60s and 70s describe the feeling not as a sudden jolt, but as a steady flame being rekindled week by week. The research backs this up. In one study, men who took about 2.44 g of marker daily, that's roughly a teaspoon, reported improvements in sexual desire and performance after just 12 weeks. Another study found higher sperm count and motility, clear signs that the body's reproductive engine was running more smoothly. But perhaps the most striking thing is how many men report not just physical benefits, but mental clarity, sharper focus, and a lift in mood. One of my patients, a retired teacher, told me, "Doc, it feels like someone turned the lights back on in my head." That's the kind of change that makes life fuller, not just in the bedroom, but in every room. Marker comes in different varieties. Yellow marker is the most common with a mild flavor and a gentle effect. Red marker is often praised for supporting prostate health, something every older man should consider. And black marker is considered the powerhouse, boosting stamina and energy more noticeably. Stirring just a teaspoon into your coffee adds a nutty, slightly malty flavor that many men come to enjoy, especially when paired with cocoa. What I love most about marker is that it's an adaptogen, meaning it helps your body adapt to stress rather than pushing it in one direction.